And welcome to everyone to the first virtual Shopify Ireland meetup. I'm going to present just the initial welcome. We're joined today by Michelle Duffy-Rudden and Amy Conroy from both from Shopify. And I'm Peter Corkery, MD of Milkbottle Labs. We've been running meetups in Ireland for the last 4 years. We've done 16 of them so far. They've been in person, great networking and sharing experience, events. And this is the first one we've run virtually. Welcome everyone. Glad you've all been able to join. For those who haven't been able to, and we're going to be viewing the recording. Hope you get value out of it today. And I'll just set up the next hour's agenda. So just as people join, welcome in. We're going to pass over to Michelle, who will present on the 5 ways to thrive during COVID. That presentation will go on for about 25 minutes. We'll then do a Q&A of that session, answer any questions. Please submit your questions in the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And we'll get through as many of those as we can. I'll then take a quick whistle-stop tour through the building of the dream team for your e-com business. What's the makeup of that and the roles you need to really succeed and thrive and flourish online. We'll do another wrap-up Q&A session there, and an AMA session as well, if anyone has any other further questions. So with that in mind, we're going to pass you over to Michelle. She's going to take the helm and we'll go through the first presentation.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Michelle. Thanks to Peter for having us here today. We're acutely aware of what you're going through during COVID-19 and what a weird time it is for everybody in life and business. So we're going to go through 5 ways to not just survive it, because really there is no going back to normal. We're trying to move forward into something where we're going to come out hopefully stronger if we can pivot and change what we're doing. So we're not going back to normal, we're going back to better. So what does that even mean? It goes without saying that e-commerce has become such an important part of how we are getting through this crisis. This is just a quick stat taken from Bank of America, so it really applies to US sales, but it's mirrored all over the world, where it took 10 years for e-commerce as a percentage of retail sales to go from 5% to 16%, a whole decade. But then that has jumped to 27% in the 8 weeks of March and April this year, because so many businesses have had to take things online that they just never considered before. And so many customers are buying things online that they wouldn't have bought that way before. So the 5 things that I'm going to go through to hopefully help you to make it through this and put something together that will last you long term is we're going to look at marketing, we're going to look at gift cards, we're going to look at shipping and delivery options, we're going to look at maybe changing up your whole business model, and then the last thing is that there are lots of resources there now that you have more time in your hands to learn. So jumping straight into the first one, whether you had a really well established marketing strategy that was very well thought out and executed, or maybe you were just winging it like a lot of businesses do, either way, it's time to completely take it apart and look at it again. So what does that even mean? Well, if you're running ads to a certain geographical area before, you may have been focused on local, knowing that that's where your customer was, or you may have had a wider reach of running your ads in different counties, different countries, and a wider audience. If COVID-19 has changed your business such that you can't deliver locally, or you can't deliver other than locally, it could be time to look at where your ads are running. So if a business has had to close its door but has moved everything online, there's an opportunity there to scale up and say it's something that we could actually deliver to anywhere in Ireland as easily as we could to around the corner. But make sure that that's also where you're marketing and advertising your products and services. The next thing I think you should look at in your marketing is behavior and interests, especially in the kind of social media ads. Because you were profiling somebody on their lifestyle and their behavior online and running ads to your ideal audience, it's very important now to go in and look at how that has changed. So now that everybody's working from home, homeschooling, you know, doing fitness classes online, everybody has completely changed their behavior. So it's important to go back in and look at this customer persona you might have put a lot of work into building and have ads running. And you may not be getting the same return on those ads because people's lifestyle is completely changed. So what they're feeding the algorithm machines out there has completely changed. So their location settings are still on, but they're not going anywhere. So they're not feeding that Facebook and Instagram algorithm with, this is where I go, this is what I do, these are the kind of places I hang out and who I'm with. So now that everybody is staying at home, they're still online, but it's important to look at what that ad is made up of in the interest section and make sure that you've tailored it to today's lifestyle to get yourself the best bang for your buck on those ads. The third thing then in terms of marketing would be to change up your copy and creative. So that's the wording and the images and videos that go out in your advertising, whether that's print, you know, big campaigns, whether it's just the odd Facebook boost, but just make sure that whatever tone of voice that you're using is still on brand for you, but also acknowledges the situation that we're in. So you can't run the same ads as you did before and pretend like everything's okay. It has to be acknowledged. But I also see a lot of people kind of falling into just a cookie cutter kind of ad, you know, with stay home, stay safe, yellow background, black text, and it all just becomes a little bit the same. So it's important to look at being really personal in your ads and speaking to people with what they're actually going through and how your product or service fits into that, and how you do have safety, you know, at the forefront, and you're taking care of your staff and all those things. But, you know, even I think at this stage, there's been enough weeks of us going through this that it's okay to kind of crack the odd joke about it, about how we're all driving each other nuts being at home all the time, or how homeschooling is, you know, not the ideal situation for lots of people. It's okay to kind of soften the seriousness of it with a little bit of personality. So the other thing in terms of marketing is that it's a good time to look at what are you doing at the lower end of that funnel. Now, again, whether you have a lot of thought put into this and you know all about marketing funnels and you've a carefully crafted campaign, or whether this is new to you, this is the journey that everybody was going through when they made a purchase. They're made aware, then they consider it, they move to a conversion and purchase the product. And a lot of people stop marketing at that point or don't put as much emphasis on what happens after that point. And this is a great opportunity to look at what happens after they purchase. Are you rewarding them for their loyalty? Are you showing your appreciation for that sale? Because it's all the more precious now in the way the economy has gone. And it's easy to just kind of let that go and just be glad for the sale, but not let the customer know that you're glad for their sale. So are they just a number? Are they just an order? Are they just another customer? Or are you digging into who they are? You know, so you can reward loyalty with things like points or discounts, free gifts, but even just a little handwritten note, even something that just speaks really to them, can mean an awful lot to somebody. And if loyalty works well, if you do it well in your marketing, what it leads to is advocacy, where people leave great reviews. They will create content of their own volition and tag your business and let their friends and family know about it. Over a cup of coffee, when somebody needs what it is that you sell, you'll be front of mind and recommended, and that doesn't actually cost anything. So you can reward their loyalty. Bear in mind that people are craving connection right now. They're missing out on the conversations they used to have, the connections they used to have, the touch points they had with other people and businesses. So to just put in some sort of personalized message, gift if possible, but something that just says, I appreciate you and I notice you. And start to build those relationships, because it will be valuable in the long run. The second thing then is gift cards. Now, if you never sold gift cards before, you may be looking at this thinking, well, that just doesn't apply to us. But I want you to kind of rethink gift cards, because they used to be something that, you know, obviously the gift is in the name. It was something that you gave someone else as a present. But I've seen a lot of success recently where it's being used as something that I can sell now because I can't sell what I normally do. So people are buying kind of vouchers for restaurants or hairdressers or the things that can't open just now, to support those businesses and make sure that they still exist when they can open again. So it's a little bit of cash flow into the business now. And in terms of e-commerce and retail in general, you could look at maybe putting together a plan where if they buy a €30 gift card, for example, that you're going to give them €50 worth of value. So you could give them a €20 gift card for free. So say on your Shopify store, you would set up an automatic discount of a buy X, get Y. So they buy the €30 one, but you're giving them the €20 one additionally for free. They could gift that on, or they could have €50 worth when they go to redeem it from you. Cost-wise in your business, it works out like having a big flash sale when things reopen or now. So once you look at your margins and you make sure that you're still covering your costs, it's different to having a flash sale or saying, you know, there's a big percentage off, or these products are coming free when you buy these ones. Trying to clear inventory, that kind of cheapens your brand a little bit for some people. Whereas this is added value. This is saying, look, we appreciate that you're willing to invest the €30 now, and we're going to add value and give you 50 when you come to use these vouchers. And the other thing about gift vouchers is it's something that people can pass on right now for all those things that are cancelled and postponed. So even though weddings have been postponed, that date is very important in somebody's diary. That date has meant so much to them for so long in the planning process, and now it's just going to come and go like a normal day. So friends and family are reaching out to people saying, you know, hey, I know today was supposed to be the big day, I'm thinking of you. Birthdays still fall on the same date, and children and adults alike, those milestones are still happening, but they've turned into Zoom calls or emails or, you know, drive-bys. So it's important to remember that just because they're not buying things the same way they did, doesn't mean that they wouldn't like to mark the occasion somehow. So that's something you could factor maybe into the marketing or into this gift card strategy, is to say, okay, people used to buy our thing, and then what do they do with it? So for a lot of product businesses, they don't know that the customer is not actually the end user. It gets wrapped up in wrapping paper and brought to a birthday party and handed over. So maybe the gift cards could fall into something like that. And remember, social media engines still have everybody's birthdays and friends of people who have birthdays coming up. All that is still possible to target, but just shift up your thinking about gift cards. Shopify has made gift cards available on all plans. So it used to be from the Shopify plan and up, and Basic didn't have them. But because Shopify has realized how important it is for businesses cash flow wise at this time, gift cards are now available on all plans. The next thing then is to look at your shipping and delivery. So even if you don't have a product to put in a box and send with the postman or courier, everybody's shipping something. So when we say shipping, it still could be a service. It could be a digital product that's delivered to their inbox. It could be that you used to ship yourself off and sit in person, and everything has had to change because you can't be physically together anymore. So to relook at your shipping strategy, maybe local pickup is something that you can add in to your Shopify store, and within a certain radius, people can come and physically come and collect their order, especially if you can do it really safely, where you can give them allocated time slots where they come and pick it up. That could be a physical, as close as you can get right now, to a physical touch between you and that person. And business owners are kind of noticing customers more. So I was listening to Matt Damon talking to Spin Radio the other day, and he said that in the coffee shop in Dalkey, they're only letting one person in at a time, and that he was talking to the barista. She said she's getting to know people who were just faces before. So they were the regulars. They were the people who were, you know, repeat business, but she didn't know their life story. She didn't even know their name. And now she does. So that local pickup and that curbside collection can lead to conversations and relationship building that just wasn't possible before because they were one of many. So it's also important to put yourself in that customer's shoes and remember that you might have been the reason they got dressed today. You might have been their reason to leave the house and pick something up and speak to another human. And that connection can't be undervalued. It's really important to people. So if local pickup is something that you could implement, it's good for both you and the customer. Local delivery then, I think there's a lot of kind of Deliveroo style, I mean, the old bike couriers, you know, there's lots of ways that people are being innovative and saying, okay, I have a car or a motorbike or whatever it is, and I can do the local deliveries. And again, once they're doing it safely, you can drop things off at people's doors and you don't have to be in physical contact with them. But the whole concept of shopping locally, even shopping online, it used to be who could get it here fastest or free shipping or who just came up top of the Google search results. Whereas now people are focusing on, okay, well, I want to buy it online for the convenience of that and not having to go out on foot looking. But I also want to support local businesses because I don't want my community to shut down from this. So they're now seeking out who is local to them. And local, I suppose in the context of Ireland, could even mean, you know, a whole region or the country. So if you can rethink your delivery, if you've had to move suddenly to e-commerce in a way that you didn't before and sell products or services on Shopify, and you've had to recently come up with a deal with An Post or a courier, it could work out the same to deliver something to the other end of Ireland as around the corner. So if there's a flat rate or close enough to a flat rate, it could be worth looking at, okay, well, we used to be this local business who only had this little radius around us that we could serve. But now that we've had to take it online in a hurry, maybe we can actually look at a bigger picture here and run ads nationwide and sell nationwide. The same goes for international. It could actually scale up that big if you can make it work logistically. And then digital products. So, I mean, whoever would have thought that a yoga instructor, a dance teacher, that these people would be flocking to e-commerce, but they are. And what it means for them, again, they could only focus on local before. So they would hire some studio space and they would advertise locally, but it was only people within a certain kilometre radius who had transport, childcare, lots of ducks in a row could actually come to that class at that time. And now, you know, there's kids all over the world doing PE with Joe Wicks. Like it doesn't matter now where your customer is. If you can move what it is that you sell to a digital version of it, then anybody with an internet connection can buy from you. So whether that is delivering things through Zoom, whether it's turning maybe things into an ebook or some sort of download, it could be that you have an online course in something. It could be a mixture between, okay, we used to sell this finished product, now we sell the ingredients for it and the how-to. And people have had to pivot into splitting their product up like that in a way that they wouldn't have dreamed before of telling you how something was done. But it's totally possible now. And it's a way of staying relevant and not disappearing off the face of the earth for your customer. The next thing I want to talk about is looking at your business model, which I know it's a cup of coffee. And that's not exactly a business model, but I'm going to give you the example of a coffee shop who had to close their doors because of the lockdown. And then when they were allowed to reopen, it was for takeaway only. And the amount of business in takeaway only is, especially when you have to only allow one in at a time or whatever number you can keep 2 meters apart, it's very difficult to churn any sort of busy trade with those kind of social distancing safety measures. So for a lot of coffee shops, it's just not viable to stick to takeaway only with 2 meters apart. And it's a big worry. So it's not the same making coffee at home as it is going and having it handed to you by the barista, but it's the next best thing. And a lot of people now are kind of settling for, okay, I can't do these things I used to do, but what can I do instead? So you can take things from, I used to deliver this product this way, and you can move it to, and now you just click it and buy it and somebody delivers it to your door, you collect it. But they've also considered a subscription model. Now, if you walked into a coffee shop a few weeks ago and said, I think you should set up a monthly subscription so that people could have this coffee delivered in bags to make at home and repeatedly get it every month, it would have sounded crazy. But because of what has happened, customer behavior has changed so rapidly. They're willing to buy things online to replace the experience they can't have. And now they're getting used to that. And now even when coffee shops open again, they're still going to be quite glad of that delivery of coffee to the house. And if they sign up for a subscription, you can split it into two types of customer and say, okay, here's the creatures of habit who just want, I want these beans in this medium roast and just top me up once a month. I know exactly what I want and just keep me in stock. Versus the people who are willing to try something different all the time. So it could be like a surprise box every month and they don't know what they're getting. That can lead to all sorts of things. It could lead to partnerships with other businesses where they're also in the box, because you build up such a list of subscribers, it's worth their while being sent out as well. There's lots of opportunities that can come from trying new things and shifting up the business model. So even if you were very set in how you were doing things and very successful in how you were doing things, you have to find a way to be agile now and pivot into something you didn't do before. So that kind of subscription would be just an app from the Shopify App Store. Most of those you can test out for a week or two before you actually commit to paying their monthly plans. So a lot of this is going to be just trial and error and see what works. And it could be something that your customers didn't even know they wanted and something that you didn't even know that you could sell. But just have a think about your own business model and how you could kind of shake that up. And then finally, you have time on your hands now that you didn't before. I know there's things that I always thought I didn't do or couldn't do because I didn't have time. And now that I have the time, that wasn't the reason at all. Kind of chores around the place. But you have time for learning and going deeper now on topics to do with e-commerce and your Shopify store and business in general in a way that you didn't before. And the fact that everything has to be delivered online in terms of learning, you don't have to now take a day out of your business, travel somewhere, spend a full day learning about something and travel back again. It's just a matter of tuning into webinars like this or downloading things and doing them in your own time. But there's a ton of resources for free on shopifycompass.com. There's online courses, there's webinars, there's live workshops. It's all completely free. And there's also a community of entrepreneurs on there. So entrepreneurship is a lonely journey at the best of times. You question your sanity sometimes and say, am I actually crazy trying to do this? Should I just get one of those 9-to-5 jobs everybody talks about? Now look, they weren't safe either. So keep doing what you're doing because you have more reason behind what you're doing than you realize. There's a why behind what you're doing. And when you join a community like that, there's a solidarity to it where you realize that you're not the only one with these challenges and these struggles. You can celebrate each other's success. You can help each other out. You can learn from each other. And all that great content that's there as well in the courses and webinars. And we're adding to that all the time. And the other thing I would say is that you can lean on Shopify support 24/7 with whatever it is that you're trying to do to get through this and beyond. We're always there. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to hand you back to Peter now.
There's just one quick question I had come through, Michelle, just on the back of what you're saying. So I know you're on the, you're speaking to our merchants every day, and I was just wanted to ask you, considering what you've just said as well, like what are some of the bigger challenges that our merchants are seeing right now, would you say, in your experience?
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is making sure that their staff are okay. So a lot of them have had to let them go temporarily, maybe furloughed them, or they're on some of these kind of COVID payments and nobody really knows what's going to happen next. So one of the biggest challenges is making sure that they're taken care of and that they can find some way of just slotting them back into the business. Even if the business is changing, that I think their people are very important to them. So that is a challenge in making sure that they're not just a wage bill to a small business. They usually have a very close relationship with their staff. And then the next biggest challenge would be in person. The social distancing measures are very hard for a lot of businesses to overcome.
Thank you.
Great, thanks a million, Michelle. Thanks for that. If people have questions, please use the Q&A option, depending on the device you're using, at the top or bottom of your screen. And we're just going to loop back now to the second part of the presentation. We'll have a further chance for more Q&A, any questions you want to add, and we'll proceed. So thanks, Michelle. And I'm moving on now to the second half, which really relates to a very, very common question we get a lot here at Milkbottle Labs. And the question doesn't come from those who are already actively selling, really, and thriving online. It's either from one of two cohorts, one which are new to e-commerce and they're just getting started or thinking about getting started. And the second would be from established businesses, sometimes multi-generational family businesses, mainly in a bricks and mortar environment, that are now rapidly reassessing what they need to be doing in terms of selling online. And a very common question that keeps coming up is, what does the team look like that I need to have in play in order to be successful online? And it's a simple question, but there's actually multifaceted elements to it. So when you think about Dream Team, most people think about the US Olympic team from '92, which was possibly the greatest ever team ever assembled in competitive sports. But it's probably not a great analogy for what you need for running an omnichannel or e-commerce business, because these guys had a lot of very similar attributes and characteristics. They were very competitive. They were very skilled in all aspects of basketball. Some are stronger than others, but otherwise they had a very common group of skill sets. I think the sport is more relevant for considering the skill sets needed for running an e-commerce business is the modern pentathlon. This is Natalia Coyle, Ireland's modern pentathlete, Olympic athlete. And the modern pentathlon is an interesting sport because it's made up of 5 very, very different sports. There's equestrian show jumping, there's running, swimming, fencing, and shooting. And the skills required for each of those aren't naturally transferable from one to the other. And if we overlay this on the requirements for an e-commerce business in particular, we see certain roles required to be fulfilled across the business, right? And at the very early stages of running a business, there'll often be one individual, the solo entrepreneur, being all these roles. But as you grow your business, you will look to expand and extend either up through hiring or through bringing on third parties to help you with various parts of these. So I'm just going to walk you through what they look like. So you've always classically got a business owner who's responsible for driving the business forward and just the person responsible for the whole thing. Generally, if you're running an e-commerce business, you need somebody who gets out of bed every morning and thinking about how the store is performing, what's coming up next, just running the whole business as if it's their own. Third, very important element is something that actually the bricks and mortar businesses have a strength in already because they're used to dealing with customer services. It's as essential in online as offline. You've also got the need for operations that may be less so for bricks and mortar. And in terms of operations, I'll take you through that a little bit more in terms of pick, pack, and fulfill, etc. And also the one that is probably most returned to in conversations again, and that's the whole area of digital marketing. So if we break these down into just a little bit more detail for each one. So from a business owner point of view, they're going to bring a number of attributes. They're just going to establish the vision for the business and the energy and the drive. And they're just going to be the ones that really, drive it forward. Now, as a solo entrepreneur, you're going to have this in spades anyway. So you're getting going, you're starting up your business, and you're full of ambition and energy. But for the main challenge for the business owner is to instill these attributes in the other team members as well. Now, the business owner will typically look at a few areas as well. They'll look at they'll be constantly market researching other competitors, other business models. It's just part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. They just restless about looking for better ways of doing things, more interesting things to sell, and what the competition is doing often. They're also always trying to identify new areas that they can expand into or grow. We've seen serial online entrepreneurs establish themselves everywhere, and particularly in Ireland, where they get going with one Shopify store and before long they're 3 or 4, often very different businesses. But once they've got the model built out, they go again. And also they're often the PR engine for the business as well. And obviously in bigger organizations, these elements are split out into different teams or individuals. But for the most part, when people are starting out, they're taking these on themselves. The e-commerce manager, on the other hand, roles are quite extensive. So you're looking at everything from just obviously how is the store performing? In other words, are sales up or down? Is the site performing the way it should be? Is the user journey right, etc.? Merchandising of the store. So in other words, what promotions? Are you going into a new spring holiday campaign? Is it a Christmas campaign? Are there going to be winter goods removed from sale or pushed to the back in a catalog sense? Are you bringing forward the new spring summer wear, etc., etc.? There's so much involved in just the merchandising of the store, and obviously with Shopify it makes it really interesting. It's really easy to do so. Reporting is something that often gets overlooked when we're doing audits of stores. People just don't look at what's available to them in terms of reporting on how the performance is. But we view this, the e-commerce manager's primary function, to be reporting the performance back to the rest of the team. Conversion rates are always something to be looked at. There's a number of different attributes to conversions and how you improve your store performance. And we spend a lot of time with clients working through modeling that and seeing what small changes can have a significant impact on conversion rates. And the promotions tied into merchandising as well. What promotions are you running, what offers, etc. The apps there's about 4,000 apps in the App Store now, I believe, in Shopify App Store. And there's always new ones out there. There's always certain functional needs that can be fixed through an app. And a lot of the e-commerce managers are always asking, and others in the business are often asking us about recommendations around apps, etc. It's worth diving in and taking the time before going for one over another. It's worth researching it because sometimes when you choose the wrong app, it has a negative impact on how your store performs. Marketing automation. This is, if anyone's ever used to talking to any of the team in milkbottle Labs, we always talk about marketing automation. It's the best return on investment you will ever spend your money on. And what I'm talking about here is email automation, drip campaigns, just a whole series of automations that keeps you in touch with your customers and allows you to really be front and center of their minds at all times. Analytics are all tied into reports, but it extends into things like Google Analytics, etc. It's just measuring what the impact is and the experience on store, on page versus off, and lifetime value. Now, customer services, this will be nothing new here for customer services really, in that they're going to be handling queries generally. But in addition, with the advantage of online stores, the ability to put a chat app on your store and allow would-be buyers to chat to you in real time. We're still very surprised how often stores don't have a chat function, often through fear of, we don't know who's going to handle that query, etc. There's a number of really powerful chat apps. Shopify have their own ping app as well that's free of charge. That can allow you to a great deal of query handling before even the customers even place an order. And this greatly helps conversion rates. And also, it also identifies other areas of the business where you actually can help with your product development and see where there's gaps in your portfolio. And then the other things typically with customer service is, updating orders, edit orders now available in Shopify, and handling any returns, and refunds, etc. Now, we could do a whole presentation on digital marketing, and these are just some of the responsibilities that a digital marketer can and often has. Now, the concern for a lot of people starting out is that there's just a lot to get their head around. Now, Shopify have provided a number of enhancements recently to their social channels and the marketing channels through the admin. And so now we've got enhanced Google Shopping, Facebook and Instagram feeds, and others depending on the markets that you're targeting. And now to be, as announced yesterday, the soon to be launched Shop app channel. And they'll all help in terms of allowing business to get up and running quickly with powerful marketing campaigns across the social networks that previously required lots of knowledge in the ad buying, Google AdWords, Facebook Business Manager world. And so that simplification of some of that is going to really help a lot of businesses on the digital marketing side. And there's another side to that in terms of the advertising, the above the line stuff is a lot of the below the line stuff and other things you can do to improve your store around SEO, around copywriting and content production, etc. And often the digital marketer is like a Swiss Army knife in the business. They have multifaceted, multi-purpose role that they tend to jump across different things. As you grow and expand your business, you'll have dedicated people for these individual tasks. Operations, it's the dull and boring side, but it's really, really, really important. And so some people will use an external fulfillment partner to pick, pack and fulfill, but typically when people are starting out, they'll be doing it themselves. And so that's the role that requires, just making sure everything flows correctly. It's not to be overlooked, it's really important. So when you take a step back and you look at all the different things, and this isn't an exhaustive list at all, there's other things as well that aren't mentioned here. There's a wide range of different roles required for a store to flourish. But the best thing we'd recommend is take stock of what the skill sets you already have within your business, who is showing an appetite for cross-training and learning. If you're an established bricks and mortar, who's leaning forward or who's be a good candidate to take on some of those, and mark out where you can get third-party help in other areas as well. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the roles required to be successful in an online store. I'm going to kick back to Amy now and just see if there's any questions have come in now, and maybe Amy and Michelle would like to join on screen.
Yeah, thanks very much, Peter. Happy to jump in. There's some great questions coming through here. I'm typing frantically into the chat box here, but I'm sure we can probably elaborate on a couple of these questions. So I know that David has just popped one in here, and he said the Shopify platform is obviously very robust, but how reliable are the apps? I'm introducing an instability into a store by installing one. So do you want to jump in on that, or shall I jump in?
Yeah, I'm happy to, and you guys can augment it. Sure. Like there's all the apps that are in the Shopify App Store have run through a rigorous process, QA process with Shopify. It's getting harder and harder to submit an app into the App Store because the bar has raised so much. And they will all work flawlessly on any standard theme build stores. The challenges sometimes arise where there has been substantial customizations made to a store for whatever functional needs, and sometimes those apps have not considered those customizations and vice versa. And so we'd always say on every store on the planet should have Rewind installed, which is the backup app, which allows you to roll back on any install of apps, products, or whatever else. And also just do the due diligence on what apps you're looking to install. Get in touch with the app developer if you have any concerns before you install the app. All the contact details are there through the App Store. I don't know, Michelle, if you have anything to add to that?
I think the number of apps matters too. So sometimes people install them to play with them, test them out, and then don't uninstall them. And then there's too many scripts running, which can slow the store down, and things start to conflict with each other rather than work together. So as well as taking care of how many apps, I would say follow the instructions really carefully on installing them and uninstalling them so they don't leave code behind as well. Because a lot of people just don't follow the steps that are clearly laid out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amy, have you another question there?
I do. There's a couple coming through here. So I'm going to just quickly work down through these. Okay, I've got one here from Patricia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. What inventory add-ons would you recommend for a busy parts business?
Okay. Inventory add-ons. Okay, so first up, Shopify bought an app called Stocky last year. A really, really powerful inventory and purchase ordering app. We're starting to see. I don't think Amy or Michelle are in a position to speak on this matter, but we got a sense that a lot of the functionality in the Stocky inventory control and management will start to be added to the core Shopify platform over time, and so there's a lot of common inventory questions answered through that app. Basically, it solves a lot of problems. Now, I don't know if Patricia has a specific requirement around inventory relating to the parts business.
I actually know this business.
Do you, Michelle?
Yeah.
So dive in. You probably know the pain point then.
Yeah. So basically, if people order things that are not in stock right now, they can take things on back order. That's fine. But that should create a purchase order. But then they want to amalgamate multiple small purchase orders into one that makes sense for them to send to their supplier, because they would buy things in such bulk.
So they want to collate demand, roll up the demand into a single quantity for them. Okay, yeah. So that's typically would be done outside of Shopify.
Yeah. So it'd be an automation of sorts where the apps could say, okay, this is not in stock, so inventory is 0 or less, but go ahead and let them order. And then that should trigger something that creates a purchase order. But say if this person wants 2 and this person wants 1 and this person wants 3, but you have a minimum order quantity from the supplier of 100, you have to kind of wait until you have enough for it to be worth placing your order.
Yeah, it sounds like a customized app would be required to deliver that functionality.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else there, Amy?
Yes, there's just one from David McFadden. So basically, we were chatting in the chat box there a little bit about how to start the store and how the 90-day trial plan could work. And David, just to explain to you a bit further, so exactly what you've just said, you can sign up for the trial. When you're on trial with Shopify, you can basically use every feature within the Shopify platform. You can install apps, you can pick different themes to try out. And you can play around with orders, you can do test checkouts just to make sure that everything in terms of functionality is working correctly. So the checkout system won't work until you select a plan. So what that means is that you won't actually be able to process sales until you select a plan to be billed on. Now, if you asked in the question, if it was 5 days into that 90-day trial, what would actually happen is you would not get billed until the end of your 90-day trial. So you'd still have your 90-day free trial, but you'd actually be able to start selling your products after the 5th day, as long as you've selected that plan.
Great, thanks, Amy. Sorry, we blocked you out there, Amy. Great, thanks for joining. I see a note there from our good friend Emma in the templewolf.com. Fantastic site. Go into templewolf.com and buy loads. Great to hear from you, Emma. Your question there is it possible to set up a second email address associated with the store? So it's a great question. There is one primary customer email field available to the store. If you wanted a second email, there's no way in the core platform to offer that, as far as I'm aware, unless Amy or Michelle would like to dive in.
You're right there. It depends on what they want that second email to do. So I guess if it was that marketing emails came from a different one, maybe some of the third-party marketing apps would allow you to have a different email associated. So it depends on what they want the second email for.
Yeah, I'm sure Emma will dive in now with a clarification on it. There's a question here coming through. How much do I need to sell to go to Shopify Plus? Michelle, do you want to take that one?
How long is a piece of string? There's no set amount that you need to sell. It's more that it would fit the needs of your business now and moving forward. So we would never say you need to sell this much, you know, to hit a target to become Shopify Plus. It would be if that is a solution to your business. So I'd say have a conversation with us, contact support, and we could ask you the relevant question and have a conversation about whether it's a good fit.
Yeah, you're right. Like if it's a really ambitious brand that's starting out from scratch and have, you know, substantial deep domain expertise and otherwise, you know, even though they have zero sales, Shopify Plus has given that the thumbs up on occasion. Equally so, there's been stores with, you know, million plus that just haven't been a good fit, just for whatever reason. So each one is taken on its own merits.
Yep.
And we're happy to talk to anyone about that if they'd like to just pull the string on it a little bit. Lachlan, our lead dev, has kindly pointed out that in relation to the question on the apps install messing up stores, obviously the best practice you can also have, apart from having Rewind installed on your store, is to duplicate your theme prior to installing any app, because by duplicating you have a backup of it prior to the app being installed.
So that's just in the actions button on the theme, and just download theme files, just for people who don't know what that means.
Thanks, Lachlan, looking out for us as always. Amy, is there anything else come through there? I see there's a question on click and collect. I think you responded to that in the thread there, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I have. No, that's definitely available in the store. So we have that built into the platform, but also there's apps as well that you can use. So if you want to like schedule deliveries or pick up from curbside, like I'm from Sligo and there's a store in Sligo town using this service. So like I just ordered it online. I wanted to test it out myself. So I ordered it online. I actually rocked up to the shop. They had blocked off the doorway. They had a little hatch set up, and they just literally handed out my order as well. So it's as easy as like 1, 2, 3, and we have that built in now as a feature because that was obviously something that our merchants really, really needed. Yeah, it's really
so
handy.
the default solution at the moment from Shopify solves a lot of basic requirements. But we, you know, the app, Zapier app, Click and Collect is awesome as well. So when you really want to push the boundaries of what's possible, the Cargill's app, Zapier is super. Just remind people there's a poll running as well in terms of what you want to cover in future sessions. Really helpful in terms of steering direction of future meetups. Whether they continue to be virtual or we look forward to a time when we can actually host and have a beer afterwards or coffee and chat through things in person. Any more questions come through?
There's one there I see. It's from Urban Renstrom. As an agency setting up a store for client, how would handoff happen? So whose email would you use, and is it possible for the person building the site to retain control and so that the client can see reports, updates, and products, etc.?
The answer there is you sign up as a Shopify partner. You get access to the partner admin area, and you can do all sorts of wonderful things from there in terms of managing that. I don't think, I think that would probably address that, I hope.
Yeah. There's one here from Nuala. She started a Shopify store but not gone live yet. Do we know, can she still apply for it, and can Shopify help with the trading online voucher available from local enterprise organizations? So yeah, absolutely. I mean, having something established already doesn't mean that you can't apply for that. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a grant of up to €2,500 from your local enterprise office. At the moment, they're reimbursing you 90% of what you've spent improving your online presence. So to the point, can Shopify help with it? If you were to pay annually for Shopify rather than monthly, we take off 10%. If you pay for 2 years or 3 years in advance, we take off 15%, 20%. And then you've got a receipt for that you could take to the enterprise office. Now you have to get the approval for the grant first, and then they're giving you back 90% of that. So you'd have an almost free website for a long time. It can also be used for, people like Milkbottle Labs, for setting up your store, anything really that improves your online presence. So it's really up to you to contact the local enterprise office and see do you qualify. So there's some stipulations around how many. You have to have less than 10 staff, less than 2 million turnover, be trading 6 months, a few things like that. But even people who availed of it before can get it a second time. So just contact your local enterprise office.
Super, thanks, Michelle. Emma has come back. Hi, Emma, again. To clarify your email request. So obviously, when you set up the store, Emma, your primary email was a Gmail account, and you want to know whether you can add at thetemplewolf.com as another email account. The answer is still the same. You can't have two, so you'll have to make a decision on one. And happy to just get in touch with us. We'd be happy to chat through and solve that for you. Hope you're keeping well.
There's a question in there from Keith Matthews.
We'll ignore that. Well, no, you can answer it, Amy, if you want.
No, well, I mean, you can.
It's a good question, actually. People are looking for inspiration constantly. So Keith's asked about where can you get the best Shopify designs, and stores designs and stuff. Our cheeky answer will be our portfolio page. But in terms of people, others looking for inspiration, Michelle or Amy, like where would you direct people to try to get them, give them inspiration?
Yeah, the theme store is quite good in that you can look for a particular feature. So if there's something in particular that you want, you might have seen it on a competitor, you might have come up with it yourself, and you think, oh, I like the way that parallax scroll is, or I like that video function, or it depends on what you want from your theme. But I think themes themselves are as good as the content you put in them. So when you get a blank template, it looks like, oh, hang on a second, I have to actually fill this out. So it's having good photography and good video and good storytelling and all of that. The theme itself is not the magic. The Shopify blog always has good stories on there, and there's success stories. So maybe to have a look through those. But really it is a matter of knowing what it is that you want from the theme.
Yeah, so there used to be a great blog updated once a year, roughly, over the last 5-6 years, of top 50 Shopify store, to inspire you type of thing. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been updated recently, I don't think. But I think what's happened is, as Shopify has grown to 1 million plus stores globally and across every single vector and vertical sector, etc., I think a lot of people, like the car parts question that came in, they're looking for inspiration of other businesses in this sector. Now, they'll know some competitors, but I think Keith's probably alluding more to the overall look and feel, the design, the finished design, really, to be inspired by it. Mm. It's something we might have to just, Keith, we might have to just go and create that list ourselves and let people add to it and contribute just to curate it.
Yeah, or even if people understand why design matters, that it's, to come up with kind of your brand values and color palette and all of that first, to know what it is that you want it to look and feel like. You can't really reverse engineer that and say, this is the theme for us, so here's the brand.
Yeah. You see, it's no easy answer, but we could all do with just being inspired a bit more, I suppose, particularly now. I think what's possible.
Can I just add to that real quick as well? I know I popped it in the chat earlier on, but Shopify has literally just announced a brand new theme, which is specific for restaurants and cafes or bars, who are looking to just get online quickly. It's called Express. I can link again the link in the talk, but it's a very clean, lovely theme to use. It's almost like a one pager. You land in and it's like the customer can, I wish I had a rolling thing right now to show you, but the customer can click straight away into what they want to order. There's not too many click-throughs on it. It's it's beautifully optimized for mobile as well. And they literally just announced that yesterday at our product conference that we have, which is called Unite, which has been Reunite yesterday, because obviously it's moved to virtual space. But I can link you with that as well, with some of the launches that are coming out.
Yeah, it's a really promising theme for restaurants to want to do, click and collect, or people just want to just sell 2 or 3 products, etc. I'll just finish up. There was a question there came in about gift cards, that because gift cards are now on all plans, they're included in all plans. If there's a change at some time and you've been selling gift cards, it might be a chance you won't be accepted. The cards themselves, the codes themselves will be accepted at checkout regardless. It's just you wouldn't be able to resell them. You wouldn't be able to continue to sell them. But from all intents and purposes, that I believe that's a permanent change that Shopify has made, that they will always be available on the entry-level plans now. I think that's a permanent change.
We don't have an end date anyway.
Yeah.
All
right, we've hit 4 o'clock. Unless there's anything else on fire in terms of questions, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining. I hope you all found it worthwhile. It'll be recorded and shared with you in the next 24 hours in the link, so you can watch back if there's anything you missed. If you want to get in touch with anyone, get in touch with us here. Hello at milkbottlelabs.com, and we'll happily follow up on anything. And we look forward. If you've all voted in the poll, please do, and it'll help guide what we'll cover next on future gigs. So thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Amy, to Sligo, Cavan, and Dublin, and everyone else out there. Thank you very, very much for joining.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.